Well, I have heard some Nigerians say, when I grow up, I'll make so much money and live an easy life. Buy my dream car and live in a comfortable apartment that I can afford. But then, why is it now that it is time for me to enjoy my best life as I had thought? Everything seems pretty expensive and unaffordable. Well, if you feel like this, let me see your hands up. Well, technically, I can't see your hands, but then I feel your pain. And you know what I am talking about. For many young Nigerians, managing finances is a constant struggle. Inflation is skyrocketing, savings are dwindling, and spending wisely seems harder than ever. Now, the pressure is to actually support extended family, navigate money dynamics in relationships, and keep up with lifestyle expectations can be overwhelming. So today, we discuss money matters. How young Nigerians are surviving inflation, black tax, and financial pressures. You're welcome to Fofana Africa. I am Lekon Obanjo, standing in for Blessings Musugu. Inflation is a major concern for young Nigerians, with prices of goods and services rising rapidly. It is becoming increasingly difficult to make ends meet. Now, salaries are not keeping pace with inflation, leaving many young people feeling like they are falling behind. Saving is also a crucial aspect of financial management, but that is also becoming increasingly challenging for Nigeria's current economic climate. With the high cost of living and limited job opportunities, many young people are struggling to save. Now, they have to struggle with black tax, family expectations, relationship, and of course, financial obligations, including what to spend, how to invest, what to save. And so joining me to discuss this is Samuel Omonitan, who is a graphic designer. Samuel, thank you so much for coming around.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me on board.
You're welcome. And I also have Damilola Olatunbosun, who is a Financial Research Analyst. Damilola, thank you so much for talking to us. All right, Damilola, while we try to sort the internet glitch from your end, let me start with Samuel. Now, Samuel, growing up, what were your dreams and aspirations for adulthood, and how is it panning out now?
All right, that's a very interesting question, because when I was much younger, I thought that I would be an astronaut. And as funny as it may sound now, I'm currently a graphic designer. And one of the factors that has led to that is, of course, different reasons, actually. And also, I had thought that, okay, maybe by 25, I would be maybe married, living in an apartment, driving a luxury car, but the economic realities of the country, and I think the world generally is. I think we all understand what is going on, right? And I'm way beyond 25 now. I'm not married yet. I have a comfortable apartment. It's not mine. I'm paying rent. But yeah, these are the realities we found ourselves in.
Well, of course, we understand that the age of 25 is always the golden year for so many people that are aspiring for something great to happen in their life, and we can actually understand what the situation is right now. But then let's correlate your experience with what obtained on the street. We actually spoke to a cross-section of Nigerians. We want to listen to other people also share their experience about life. Let's take a listen.
This economy has really affected me in many ways that I can't even say, because there are things I do before that I can't do now, sincerely speaking. Like going out, sometimes I go out like maybe 2 or 3 times in a week. I take myself out. But now, if I not see somebody, I will say, oh yeah, let's go on a date. I'll not go. I will just be at home. Instead of me to waste how much on a catfish outside, 5,000 to buy catfish, I'll just prefer using it to cook concussion rice or something that will sustain me for 2 or 3 days. So that's how it is.
The inflation is affecting everybody, including my business. I'm a business person. I am into construction. I build on swimming pools, aquariums, and fountain. So the cost of all the whole materials in the market has gone up. So it has affected my own cost of materials. So if I'm I'm sending quotes to my customers and clients, it affects them. I feel bad, but there's nothing I can do. And to be honest, some of them they understand what's going on, because they also are feeling it. I like to go to eateries alone, but I can't go to eateries anymore. So even if I'm going there, I just get like few snacks to eat. For data, I used to do like 10,000, 50,000. I can't do that anymore. I have to do like 5K because even the 10K I'm doing is not giving me what I want. So then I think basically transport, coming from my place to work, I have to like add more money to it. Most of all the transportation now, they've increased their fare. So it has also affected me. I have to also increase my own work.
In time past, we used to believe that higher income, higher standard of living, but it hasn't really been the way we think it should. You know, things have become more expensive. Affording an accommodation has not been particularly good. The prices of accommodation has more than 300% increase as of within a period of 1 year, which is becoming more difficult for younger guys like us. Even though my business has not been so cool, raw materials I used to get, from the basic markets to produce my snacks that I supply to small shops, the prices as well have tripled. It's one of the reasons these items have become overly expensive. Considering the situation of things in the economy, you want to put money aside for things like housing, feeding, as well as education. So spending most times on outing doesn't really come into the plan again, which we know that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Normally, in my place of work, they paid us amount of money, maybe like 200 plus before for self-drive, but now 400,000 plus, and at the same time, I still prefer, collecting 200,000 plus back then than now that they are paying me 400 plus. So it's affecting everybody.
At least whenever I receive my salary, I'm supposed to send something home to my parents. But now it's not as before again. No. Sometimes I will still call my daddy. I will tell him to borrow me money, and it will be like, what's the essence of the job you are doing, and what is the essence? Because salary went out today like this. I don't even know what I'm doing with the money anymore. I don't know.
It's normal. I don't need my parents to ask me for money before sending to them. It's normal. They spent a fortune to get me through school and give me the best of life they could. So I can't give a blind eye to my aging dad or my aging mom at this time in life. So whether the economy is difficult or not, I will still send them their percentage every month. We need the basic amenities in our society, and one of those is proper health care, which is the main thing. Where there's life, where there's life, there's hope for every other thing. When you have health, you can pursue money, you can pursue education. And when there is no health, you can't really pursue those things you want to pursue as a man or as a woman. We have road network issues. The road network should be taken care of, should be fixed, all right? Because if the roads are fixed, moving in raw materials from other producing states into states like Lagos, where we are, won't be difficult, and as well that would have helped to reduce the cost of transportation. But if these things are more expensive by the day, surely we can't be able to do much that we want to do.
80% of the use are online. We don't go out as we used to before. So if the cost of data is reduced, it will really help us. It will help the economy to grow.
Fuel costs, if this can be addressed, I think little impact can be done on the things we purchase every day.
If they can, but they won't actually, but if they can, help us reduce the price of everything. I know everything's going to be back to normal if they can, but I know that they will not do it.
I won't lie to you, there is nothing we can do about it. And we know the reason why, we are having this kind of issue, whether we like it or not. This is first subsidy of a thing. So the best thing for us to do is to be patient and see how things unfold. So that's it.
That seems to be the tale of Nigerians talking about forced financial management, how the economy is impacting their businesses negatively, and of course the realities of life, talking about a hike in prices of goods and services, forced financial obligations, and people having to just get by and live by, while the value of the money they get in terms of income, salaries, wages is actually, dwindling. Well, Samuel, I would like to bring you into this. Now, of course, you did listen to Nigerians share their experiences. Why does it look as though that, in this part of the world, attaining or achieving one's dream seems pretty difficult?
Well, to the best of my understanding, I would say one of the major reasons why it seems attaining maybe financial liberty or getting to that point in your dream where you are able to do things you want to do at the time you want to do them. I think one of the major reasons we have is the fact that our currency has even devalued over time, and when inflation happens, purchasing power automatically reduces, and our currency valuation is also really not helping matters because, I think a few months ago I was discussing with one of my colleagues where we were talking about, a few years ago, if you were earning, say, 350,000 naira in Nigeria, and you are set for, you are really set because you can really afford your houses, you can afford rents, you can afford to purchase the things you want to buy. But now, that same 350,000 naira can barely take you to office and back home in a month. Right, so I think one of the reasons or one of the major things that has really contributed to people not being able to exactly match up to the standard of living they want right now in the country is, I think, one of the major reasons is inflation and also the devaluation of our currency.
Of course, part of the things that the people mentioned a while ago. But then, Samuel, let's be critical about this. Even in this widespread situation of lack and struggle, there are still some people making it big in the country. I want to believe you would agree with me. Isn't that some sort of a consolation?
So I would say to that, there are different factors as to the earning potentials of individuals. There are different factors. I think one of the major things that contributes to how much you earn as an individual is, first, the kind of skills you have, also the kind of network that you have around yourself, right? You cannot say the earning potential of somebody, say a software developer working remotely with an American company. You cannot compare the earning potential of that person to, say, somebody working just down the streets in maybe a local shop or something, right? So the earning potentials will be different. So while we have people who have the skills, they have the skill set, they have the connection, they have the network, they have the resources, right, to earn better. You cannot really compare them to the people who do not have the same level of potential, they don't have the required skills. So I think these are some of the factors that really causes divide between the earning potentials of different individuals, even within the country. So, that's my thoughts on that.
All right, Samuel, I'll come back to you. I want to believe that we have Damilola Olatunbosun, who is with us right now. Damilola, can you hear me now? All right, we try to sort out what's up with Damilola. But then, Samuel, yes, so let's even bring the issue around individuality of the people into this context. I'm talking about Nigerians. I mean, you've talked about the potential and those who really do not have that capacity for certain skills and for certain job requirements. But then, were you privy to the statement of a former Nigerian president who said that young Nigerians are lazy? But then, when you look at an average Nigerian, what do you actually see? Because it seems as though they're the ones being blamed.
All right, so when I look at a typical Nigerian youth, what I see is somebody hardworking, somebody with a lot of potentials, untapped potentials, somebody who needs to be enlightened, somebody who needs to be educated, financial literacy and just general education, right? I would not agree with the fact that Nigerian youth are lazy. I would not agree with that because even on the streets, you see people, down to the people who we call conductors, people who call passengers into buses. You can see that these people do it with passion. They are doing it with a lot of energy and life. And because that's what they can, that's what they're able to do at the time. So I would not agree with the fact that Nigerians are lazy. I just feel one of the reasons why things are not really panning out for a lot of people is because, like I mentioned earlier, lack of skills, lack of knowledge. A lot of people are out there with, they really don't know what to do. They really don't. They just feel they just have to do something to eat and go along their days, right? So yeah, there are quite a lot of people on the streets who are really struggling because they don't really know what to do. And I think that's what I have to say to that.
All right. So Damilola Olatunbosun, can you hear me now? I'd like to get your own response to this too. All right, beautiful. So let me get your perspective as to the struggles and the pains of an ordinary young Nigerian having to live by and get by despite these economic realities that they are faced with. How would you describe it?
So an average Nigerian goes to work, does the 9 to 5, wakes up in the morning, have to face traffic before they get to their office, and then they work. After working, they come back home, face another traffic, and after facing another traffic, they get home and they're worried. There's no lights, internet is poor, even their take-home is not taking them home. So the truth is that the financial reality of an average Nigerian is not something to be so proud of as a country. But I always say it's, of course, there are outlier cases, but an average Nigeria is really, really struggling.
And do you think that the government actually got it? I mean, you're a financial research analyst. Do you think that the Nigerian government got it wrong with the policies that a lot of Nigerians are saying are not people-centric? But they're not part of government. They're saying it is what has to be done.
Okay, so the truth is that I'm going to answer the question. In terms of the policies, right, of course, that is what we just need to do. The policies need to be implemented, right, because that is what we have to do as a government. But I would always say this, right, there are better ways of implementing policies. Even if you want to implement a policy, you can actually implement it in phases so that it will not necessarily just disrupt the activity of an average Nigerian. So I think I will agree with you when you say it is not people-centric. Of course, the policies are right, but then it is not people-centric because they did not necessarily carry the people along.
All right, Samuel, so I come back to you now. I mean, let's now look at probably ways whereby Nigerians can actually, live their Nigerian dream, if I could put it that way, despite the issues that they are faced with. I mean, of course, harsh economic realities are there. But then, how do you think that people can actually manage their finances, at least to survive, and probably to go about their businesses, make some money that can help them live a better life, probably in phases?
All right. So I think there are some things Nigerians can do, Nigerians most especially, and I think I have practiced some of them personally too, and they've really proven to help me so far. I think one of the important things to do is that regardless of whatever amount you are earning right now, the first thing you have to do is to try to cut back on your expenses and also try to increase your earning. And there are different ways by which you can do this. Cutting back on your expenses might include you, if you are somebody that eats out a lot, try to cut back on that, try to cook in, because cooking at home has proven to be more cost effective than eating out all the time. Another thing that can also help is to look at the things you buy. I think it's always good to keep a budget, especially more if you are somebody that earns monthly. If you earn your salary monthly or something, it's best to just work with your budget and try as much as possible to stick to that budget. And one rule that has really helped me also is to divide your money into percentages. There's this 50, 30, 20 rule that a lot of people talk about. And I think it's very, very important, right? Because it really helps to, manage your finances and make sure for you, and helps you to track how you spend your money, right? So the 50, 30, 20 rule is simply you spend 50% on things you need, you spend 30% on the things you want, and you keep 20% as your savings. And that is that. But I know a lot of youth, I have been there before also, are in debt, right? Because of course, you are trying to get as much money as you can, and the money you are earning is not enough, then you venture into taking loans here and there and things like that. I think it's important for you to pay off all your debts first. Do not take any other loans. Pay everything you owe first. Then after that, try to save 20% of whatever you have. Then when you have enough, when you are able to maybe scale up, earn better, if it's possible for you to take on more jobs, try to get that going. But it's very important to also pay attention to your health, because it's one thing to do a lot of work and make a lot of money and your health is suffering for it. So I think these are simple things a lot of people can practice and put in place to help them financially immediately.
Well, I don't know how easy it will be to actually go by this financial plan postulated by Samuel. But Damilola, I bring you into this. I mean, earlier when you talked about the fact that what people earn now, their take home cannot even take them home. How did you say it that time? But then let's look at the realities on ground. In a situation whereby people are not able to actually earn a living wage, are there strategies or tools that one can use to manage their finances in terms of spending and savings?
Question. The first thing I would advise is that you need to actually upskill yourself, because I'm not going to suggest that, try to get another job, but first thing I would advise you to do is to upskill yourself, because if you upskill yourself, then you would better position yourself to get better opportunities. So by doing that, upskill yourself. After upskilling yourself, then you can position yourself to get better opportunities. And just like Samuel said, take up more jobs. When you take up more jobs, then you can now earn more. And when you earn more, you can now look at your expenses. You look at the expense aspect. You have to ensure that you are not overspending, right? And for you not to overspend, you have to actually have a budget. So irrespective, there are lots of different ways you can budget. There's the 50-30-20 rule. There is the zero budgeting rule. So whichever the case may be, you have to try as much as possible to budget, to manage your expenses. And one major way I'll tell people is that budgeting is not sophisticated. Does not have to be sophisticated. With your paper and Bible, you can actually just budget and you are good to go. So try as much as possible to budget, and after you budget, remember you've upskilled. After upskilling, you're earning better, you're budgeting, and after you budget, for every earnings you get, try as much as possible to invest it. Don't just say, I'm not earning enough, and because I'm not earning enough, I won't actually invest or I won't actually save. So try as much as possible to save. Remember, you save for the rainy days. Try to get your emergency fund out. Don't make you start earning well so that you don't run into debt when there's an emergency. So try as much as possible to get your emergency. And when you get your emergency fund, then you can now look at, okay, I want to grow my wealth. And then you look at other opportunities how you can actually grow your wealth. But remember, you have to upskill. After upskilling, you manage your income, you ensure you budget well. And after budgeting well, prepare for your rainy days, and then you can now start to invest.
Damilola, I'd like to ask you, do you have savings?
Yes, I do.
Has it been easy? Has the journey been easy for you?
To be sincere, there are days that my savings have saved me, right? When I started saving, I was able to save a lot because I think when I started working, I was able to save a lot because I was staying with my sister and she was practically paying the whole bills. The only thing I was taking care of was my transportation and my personal expenses, so it was easier for me to save. But when I started staying on my own, I realized that it was a different ball game. So I had to go back to the drawing board and then reschedule again. And one thing I realized is that no matter how difficult it is, you just have to save. And when you are saving, just try as much as possible to be consistent. And how do you become consistent? The only way you can become consistent is by actually automating it. See, forget the fact that you want to use willpower to actually help you out. Try as much as possible, just automate it. There are a lot of fintech apps like our ladder saving app. You can just download it, automate it. Every month I want to save this amount of money, and then you just save it, right? And then that's just it. Okay,
so Samuel, I'd like to equally put that question to you. Do you also have savings, and how easy has it been for you?
All right, thank you for that question. So, yes, I do have savings, right? And how easy has it been? It has not been very easy because I had a slightly different experience from Damilola. I live alone. I am the first child of the family, so I'm responsible for my younger ones. I have an old mother. So saving for me has not been easier at all, but I think it's something we have to do. It's just based on discipline. There are some things I have to tell myself that, okay, I'm not going to buy this now. I'm going to buy it later when I'm able to afford it. If I'm able to get freelance gigs that I can quickly do to earn a little bit of income, then to buy that. That's how I really try to move things around just to be consistent. Like Damilola said, consistency is very important. And one way by which you can be consistent is by automating, like she has already rightly said, right? So, and there are a lot of resources, tools out there that can help you to achieve this, whereby you just have to, especially for people who earn consistent income, it's very important that you have consistent savings. So once that income comes in, automate it such that a certain percentage of that moves directly into your savings, and do it in such a way that it's a saving that you do not necessarily, that you not be necessarily able to reach very easily, because a lot of people are always saying, I've been there before, where you have a savings account that you can easily just go there and transfer when you really need to do something quickly, right? So I think it's just largely based on discipline. If people can try as much as possible to be disciplined, to do it with immediate pleasures, and just live within their means, I think things will be better for people in the long run. It's not going to be easy, especially for young earners, but I think it's something that you really thank yourself for in the long run.
Samuel, having to take up that financial obligation on the family side, and having to probably take up more jobs and probably upskill, knowing fully well that comes with extra spendings too. How do you think that these, jugglings will actually affect the physical and mental health of a young individual, a man like you, a female like Damilola?
So I would say it's very tasking and very demanding, especially if you are into something that is very mentally tasking. For instance, like I said, I'm a graphic designer and I have a full-time job. And if I'm taking more freelance jobs, what that means for me is that I have to look for a way to balance concentrating on my full-time job and at the same time not dropping the ball on my other freelance gigs that I've acquired, right? It's very important to look for a way to balance it. I don't think there's a one-shoe-fits-all method to go about this. I think it's very important for each individual to understand themselves, know your limits, know how much you can stretch. And if you feel that something is too much for you, learn to say no. It's very important that we also prioritize our health, because I think I've been there also, where I just had a lot of work to do. I had a lot of deadlines colliding, and it started taking a toll on my mental health because I was stressed, I was anxious, clients were calling, and this can be very stressful, right? So I think it's very important for people to know when to cut back. Know how much you can stretch. And if it's a task you can delegate or you can outsource, you can also explore that, right? You can also explore that. So that's how it has been really for me.
Okay, so Damilola, I just listened to Samuel now talking about financial prudency, you having to say no, prioritizing your finances. How is it for young individuals who probably have not really explored life to its fullest, but then are living a false reality? How do you think it will be easy for them to not make financial mistakes?
That question, to answer it, I always preach on financial literacy. See, you can't overlearn and you can't stop learning. I always advise that, see, you just have to tell yourself that you know where you're going. As long as you have a goal, you have where you're heading to, you just have to set the target for yourself and you read. One of my favorite books is The Richest Man in Babylon, and I always advise people that, see, just read. If you feel you're lacking in a particular area, pick up books in that area and then read up. And after reading up, try as much as possible, don't just read, implement it, right? Ensure that you practice delayed gratifications. Don't say, oh, I've made money today, and because I've made money, I'm going to spend it. I always practice the 48 hours rule, where if I see something that is outside my budget and I want to buy it, I tell myself, okay, Danny, hold on. After 48 hours, if you still want to buy this thing, then you buy, right? And most times I end up not buying such things. So try as much as possible to practice delayed gratification. And what I'm going to advise is that if you fall short, don't beat yourself up too much. Pick up, stand up, and go back again and start implementing. Remember that financial literacy, it's not It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You just have to keep on running until you get it.
All right, Damilola, thank you. Samuel, thank you too. Both of you would have to stay with us. We are going to go on a very short break now. And when we return, we should continue to look at money matters and how that is affecting young individuals, what they can do to make right financial decisions so that they don't run amok or probably lose their sense of value while trying to survive. We'll go on a break. We'll be back in a bit. You're watching Fafano Africa on the Central Television, and we have been looking at money matters and how young Nigerians are actually surviving amidst the economic realities and pangs. And of course, the bigger, story has been around what the government policies have actually done to the economy and what it needs to do now to probably right those wrongs. And I've been talking to Samuel Omonitan, who is a graphic designer, and of course Damilola Olatunbosun, who is a financial research analyst. Thank you so much, gentleman and lady, for staying with us to continue this discussion. Now, I'm going to bring this home to Samuel. I mean, earlier on, Damilola talked about delayed gratification and financial literacy. But I'm wondering if, the path to financial freedom solely hinges on these two variables, rather than looking at what the government needs to do to effect a change. Because a young Nigerian or a Nigerian does not have authority or power over market forces. You can decide to have 100 naira today and say, okay, I'm just going to spend 100 naira and I'm going out to eat. And the food vendor will tell you, for the same quantity of food, you spend 300 naira. That is the reality. So when you look at government policies and what individually needs to be done, where do you think that we can strike a balance?
All right, that is a very dicey question. And I would say we do not necessarily, especially as Nigerian youth, we do not necessarily have the ability to control some of these things, right? Talking about the policies and the likes, although we can try as much as possible to, speak or deliberate or look for ways to reach the people in power to let them know what it feels like to be like to experience these things typically as Nigerians. But then I don't think we necessarily have the full capacity to change any of these policies. I think it's just best for us to keep on striving because I know oftentimes we, like you rightly mentioned, we have plans for our money and how we intend to spend it, right? But then policies happen and prices of things change. But then I don't know if we necessarily or if we immediately have the power to change some of these policies. However, one thing we can do to control it is to, like Damilola already said, financially literate and try as much as possible to maximize whatever tools and resources you have to enhance your finances. So that's all. That's what I can say to that.
Okay. So Damilola, so we have the Gen Alphas, we have the Gen Betas, those who have actually hacked the code of financial freedom, having to make more money, and they are not really attuned to the 9-to-5 job. Do you think that financial literacy is what can appeal to them?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And financial literacy just have to appeal to them. And I would want to say this because I think I've spoken to a lot of people in that age bracket, and I can tell you that a lot of them are actually, because they've seen their parents, they've seen the mistake of their parents, and they've seen that the government might not necessarily have their backing. So because of that, they are currently chasing financial literacy. Those ones that are knowledgeable, they are currently chasing financial literacy, and they're trying to do better with their money, right? So financial literacy should appeal to them, because the truth is that while you might have the capacity to earn money, you still have two things to do when it comes to money. You need to have the capacity to keep the money, and you need to have the capacity to grow the money. So just earning well is not enough. You have to learn how to keep it, and then you need to learn how to grow it, and that is where financial literacy comes to play.
So for people or young adults who have financial responsibilities, maybe familial responsibilities, parental responsibilities on their shoulders. Would you put the blame on the parents for not having to have done more in equipping these young adults to not live that kind of life and probably accelerate the process of financial freedom? Do you think it's their fault?
No. To answer your question, my answer is no. And to just buttress my point, I'm going to say this, that what your parents can actually give you is just 30%. And you have the 70% to work with. So even if your parents give you 30%, that's a good starting point. And if you don't get the 30% from your parents, you can still work with it. So, but you said the 70% has to do with you. So I don't really think that responsibility actually falls to the parents. It's financial literacy falls on you, and it's your own responsibility to actually educate yourself. Of course, your parents can try, but you have the bulk of the responsibility to get the work done.
All right. So, Samuel, how best do you think that young individuals can actually transmit or communicate financial limitations with their families without having to strain relationships?
All right. So, somebody who is currently in that situation, right? I think it's very important for you to be honest with your family members. Let them know what your financial realities are immediately. And when you are communicating with them, communicate with empathy. It's very important that you are not doing it in a very dismissive way, such that you don't come off as being rude, especially in the cultural context of Nigeria, right? If you say certain things, then you come off as being rude, and you see parents saying things like, "I was when I raised you, I sent you to school," and things like that. So in order to not find yourself in that kind of position, try to be empathetic. Try to communicate. Like I said, honesty is very important. Let them know that you cannot afford certain things now, and let them know that you are willing to help in other ways. So you can help in other ways by maybe try to jump on. If you have somebody who's maybe looking for a job, you can help them to do that. So what I'm trying to say is that you can help in other ways, not necessarily financially. So one thing I do when it comes to situations when some financial responsibilities fall on my table and I cannot immediately afford it at the time, I try to communicate and be like, okay, this is what I can do now. And if I'm able to maybe one way or the other get more funds, then I'll be able to come in to support better. So I think honesty is very important. Honesty, empathy, and look for other ways to help other than financially. So that's
all right. So Damilola, in a situation or in a climb whereby we've seen a lot of peer pressure and societal pressures, people wanting to live by a particular standard that they cannot meet up with, and the fact that people are hoping that, okay, tomorrow is going to be a better day, but then I have to try as much as possible to look good. Some people will say the way you dress is the way you are dressed, but then you don't have the finances to actually dress the way you would want to be addressed, to actually, get that kind of respect from people. Now, you see people in that kind of situation. How do you think they can navigate those kind of pressures?
That's a very funny question, and this is what I'm going to say, or this is my advice to such person. You know your reality, and you know your situation best, and you should not really allow someone else's influence to affect you. So let me give you a practical example. Because I don't like inconvenience, most time I use both when I'm going out. And if my friends should see me and I'm using both and they're like, "Oh, Dami is using both. Why is she using both? Why can't she use a log?" I know you don't necessarily know whether, okay, I cut down on my spending, maybe on my shopping spending, to be able to afford to use both. So the truth is that one is that you know your reality, you know the budget you are working with. While in the process of trying to impress people or trying to fit into that status, you should not break the bank, because if you do that today, you have to do it tomorrow. You have to keep on doing it. And if you keep on doing it, you're just trying to impress people that are not even interested in your life. Of course, you have to dress to look good, but you don't necessarily have to break the bank to actually look good. So you know your reality and try as much as possible to cut your coat according to your size, right? Don't just do things because everybody is doing it, because it might actually burn you.
All right. So, Samuel, you and Damilola have actually established the fact that there's more to be done on the part of the individuals if they are looking at financial freedom despite the economic situation in the country. But then we cannot shy away from the role of government in all of this. Do you think that the government, in some way, can be looked up to provide some sort of financial cushioning for the young individuals in the society to help them live by despite this economic tightness?
All right. So what I would say would be the role of the government in this current situation that we found ourselves in is to help to not make life any harder for especially young Nigerians, because a lot of people are struggling with different things, especially, now, even currently, a lot of Nigerians are trying to delve into tech, trying to delve into the creative space, trying to explore opportunities different from the traditional ways that we knew while growing up, right? So I think the government can help in such a way that they do not, they help to facilitate that, provide skill acquisition opportunities for people to skill up. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that, when people have different earning potentials due to the kind of skills they have or the kind of resources they have access to. So if the government can help to facilitate some of these things, I think it might make life a bit easier for young adults. And
okay.
I also think that the government can be different.
All right, so even as we wrap up now, I want to put Damilola on a spot. Now, which one do you think is financially prudent to actually, explore? We know that not all Nigerians can actually jackpot, leave the country for the so-called proverbial greener pastures and other climes. But then some people will say that, why don't you stay back and look at what you can do for yourself to improve your financial portfolio? But then which one would you say is more viable and prudent that can help, a young Nigerian live the kind of life that he would or she would want to live, probably, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Okay, to answer your question, I know a lot of Nigerians that are earning well, like when I mean earning well, earning in foreign currencies, in a good amount, and are still in Nigeria. And it affords them a kind of luxury that if they were in the greener pasture and they are earning that amount, they won't necessarily be able to afford that luxury. So, of course, you might want to jackpot because of the opportunities there. I'm not against jackpotting, but I believe in the saying that wherever you find yourself, if you are productive, if you offer value, you will definitely be rewarded with money, or as the case may be, whichever value, whichever exchange you want. So if you want to jackpot tomorrow, try as much as possible to upskill yourself, because if you don't have the relevant skill and you jackpot, which we all know that is expensive to jackpot, and you jackpot, you actually become a nuisance there, right? And it doesn't make sense. So I would always advise you that even if you want to jackpot, have the relevant skills that would give you the value. But if you can upskill yourself in Nigeria and you can actually outsource your skills to people that want it in other climates that want it, then you will definitely get paid for it. So as the case, we just pick your struggle and stick with it.
Okay, so Samuel, let me just get your final thoughts before we draw these to a close.
All right, so yeah, I totally agree with Damilola on that. I think it's very important for people to skill up. I think skilling up is like the most important thing here when it comes to financial freedom. Skilling up is very important, because when you're able to skill up, you're able to earn better. And when you're able to earn better, you live better financially. So yeah, you can't, even if you are trying to jackpot or if you are trying to make more money, even as in Nigeria, living in Nigeria, you have to skill up, right? So we cannot overemphasize that. Then reading, I think Damilola also mentioned that earlier, read a lot of books. Richest Man in Babylon is one, Psychology of Wealth, Psychology of Money. There are a lot of books out there by great authors who have lived this path and are doing very well also financially. I think those two things are very important, skilling up and reading.
All right, Samuel Omonitan, a graphic designer, and of course, Damilola Olatunbosun, Financial Research Analyst. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. It's been really robust and profound having this session with you. Thank you. And so I end with this. Now, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moment of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in the moment of challenge and controversy. That is according to the late Martin Luther King Jr. So where do you stand financially? If you want to know, look at your financial decisions. I am Lekon Obanjo. Enjoy the rest of your day.